So now it's my great honour to introduce Dr. Joan Harthan, and she's kept a dream journal every day for over 30 years, documenting almost 10,000 different dreams to date. Having joined the International Association for the Study of Dreams in 2001, she's made presentations at international conferences in Europe and in America, and contributed articles to Dreamtime and Lucid Dreaming Experience, which is an online publication you can find at dreaminglucid.com. In 2011, by acting on the messages that she received in her dreams, she gave up her academic career to become a full-time writer, and this fulfilled a lifelong ambition. In addition to the book on which these seminars are based, which is Working the Day Shift, she's authored a number of other books on the subject of dreaming, including Working with Dreams, a handbook of 30 different dream exploration techniques for individuals, for therapists, and also for groups. So for more information, you can visit her website, which is www.dreamuk.com. So Joan, we're very honoured to have you with us today. Many thanks for accepting our invitation to take part and conduct this Zoom seminar. So it's over to you.
Thank you for inviting me. That's the first thing. I would say that you have covered a bit of my introduction there, because I think it's important that people understand where I'm actually coming from, because all that sounded very academic. My PhD is in chemistry. My PhD is not in psychology. So to start things off, I was planning to tell you a little bit about myself by way of introduction. It's only going to take a few minutes. But to say you'll also need pen and paper for this session. So if you don't have a pen and paper to hand, now's your opportunity to go and source them. For the next five minutes, you won't be missing anything important. So I think it's important for me to say from the outset that I don't earn a living from dream work. Many dream workers do. So I have no courses to sell, no psychotherapy or counselling to offer, and no one particular method to promote. All I have ever wanted to do is to spread the word about how important dreams are through my books, and to teach people how to explore their own dreams. So basically, I'm in the game of trying to promote self-awareness through dream work, also spiritual development, and also creativity. As Tim said, I actually took early retirement from Nottingham University when I was 57. So that's 9 years ago, 10 years ago now. And I did that because I wanted to write full time. And since then, I have only been writing fiction. So all my ideas for my fiction come from my dreams. So in case you haven't seen the book, oh, hang on, sorry. I'm just going to share my screen with you, and then we can have a look at this slide. Okay. So this is the book that this seminar is based on. It's called Working the Day Shift, and it's actually a sequel to my first dream book, which was called Working the Night Shift. Working the Night Shift contains a history of how dreams have been viewed over the millennia, and it's also got different techniques that can be used with examples from my own dreams. So I called this book Working the Day Shift because this is putting your dreams into practice, and to incubate a specific question to get the answer in a dream is incredibly powerful, and we'll be talking about that more lately. So this book contains a lot more detail than I'm going to be able to give in these sessions. And like many people, I would say I spent the first half of my life searching and never quite knowing what I was looking for, only knowing that I hadn't found it. And I always had a feeling that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. evidenced by more career changes, and I said that Microsoft has had updates. So this next slide, it's just showing you some of the careers that I've had. I mean, I'm 68 now, so these are my careers up to when I was 57. So I started off in a bank, then I was an editorial librarian in a newspaper, then I worked in the Inland Revenue as an executive officer for about 7 years. I trained in haute couture dress design, I trained to be an accountant, I was a company secretary, and basically it wasn't until 1990, 1989, when my life began to fall apart. I was divorced after 17 years with 2 young children that I had to support on my own, and I was working full time. I was trying to do an open university degree, and I had 2 small children, and it was horrendous. I just couldn't do it. So I made the decision, because of my dreams, to go to university full time. And that was in 1990. And at the same year, I had a terrible family tragedy. And up until then, I've always been a strong dreamer, and I'd always taken note of my dreams, but I didn't really understand them terribly well. And I didn't have anybody to talk to dreams about. There was no internet, there were no dream books, and nobody in my family or my social circle were in the least bit interested in dreams. But when I had my brother committed suicide in 1990, it always still, even after all these years, it still affects me. Anyway, I'd had dreams the week before he did it, and it was obvious when it happened. It was obvious what my dreams had been telling me. On a conscious level, nobody knew, nobody had any inclination. So that was in 1990. So since then, I have been recording my dreams, like Tim said, every night, every morning. So that's for over 30 years. And it was then in 1990, when I kept recording my dreams, that I started to recognize signposts in my dreams, and I started to follow them. And I'll talk about signposts next week. So that's when my life really started to fall into place, and I was making informed choices from my dreams that were right for me on a soul level. So, hey, my life isn't perfect, but it's pretty close now. We never stop learning, and we should always be prepared for change. And sometimes it's only hindsight that can give us clarity, because some dreams, I mean, they're multifaceted, they're on multi-levels. They can take years to understand them properly. And that's why it's important to record your dreams. So if you're not already doing this, I really, really urge you to start doing this. Like Tim said, I've been doing it for 30 years. These are my dream journals, some of them. I keep them on my computer, and every year I print them out in hard copy and get them bound up. I keep telling myself I must stop doing this, but it's become such a habit I can't stop, because I just love looking back through them. And there are up to almost 10,000 dreams there, and I bet I remember every one. So when something happens in my life and I think, I've dreamt about that, I usually can find the dream immediately, and it's always very, very useful to read it through, which obviously takes us into the realms of precognitive dreaming, which we're not going to talk about tonight, but that's another aspect of dreaming. So how do you record your dreams? Obviously you've got to remember them first. So There are hints and tips in my book, Working the Night Shift, about how to do this. But the most important thing is to know that your dreams are important, to understand that they have useful information. And once you recognise that and you honour them by trying to remember them, you'll find that your recall improves tremendously. A lot of people say, oh, I just don't remember my dreams. You know, as soon as I wake up, I know I've been dreaming, but it's just gone. And if that's you, then it's often very, very helpful to train yourself during the day to think, the first thing I'm going to think when I wake up is, what was I dreaming? In that hypnopompic state before you wake up properly, if you can have that prompt in your mind, the dream will come back in full glory. Failing that, if you get back into the position you were in bed when you woke up, quite often when we wake up, we turn over, don't we, and we look at the clock, or we do this, do that. You get back into the position you were in when you woke up, the dream will often come back. And that's a very interesting facet of dreams, and it sort of calls into question somatic memory. So dreams are not just in your head, they're in your entire body, and your body remembers. Okay, so let me get rid of this, and then I will show you an example of one of my dream journals. So this is the 2013 one, and what I do, I'm showing you this to sort of fire your enthusiasm about keeping a dream journal, because the more you put into it, the more dreams you're going to recall, and the easier it will be to incubate a specific dream. So what I do every year when I print them out, near the front, I have what's called a box of dreams, if I can find it in here. Because obviously dreams are very, very creative. So this box of dreams for 2013 sums up all the themes that were in my dreams for the entire year. So even if I've forgotten what themes were running through my life at that time, I've just got to look at that page. And I also illustrate my dreams when I get a chance. Obviously, it isn't always possible, but one dream here, which is very relevant to this evening, and the dream incubations in the Asclepions. I had this dream of this wonderful goddess who turned into a snake. I mean, she was just awesome. So it's important that you take your dreams seriously. Sometimes I actually write comic strips of my dreams. So that is a really good way of looking at your dream objectively. So there's all these things you can do. Obviously, you have to have the time to do it. But even if you haven't got time, it is good to spend at least one evening per week doing this. So, what is dream incubation? Can I just ask? You know, my screen sharing. What are you seeing at the moment?
We are seeing your 30 years of dreams diaries.
Oh, sorry. Well, I've just taken that off.
Mm.
I've just taken that off.
Did you do? It's not changing. Perhaps.
Okay, because all I've got now is my post attendee Zoom screen on.
Would you like to move to the next slide? I'm not. Perhaps try to
Well,
unshare and share.
yeah, I wanted to take that slide off. Can you see me? No.
Yes, we can see you small and the full screen with the PowerPoint and the over 30 years of dreams.
Oh, okay. I shall have to leave it like that then. Okay, so what is dream incubation? Well, it's a very old spiritual tradition, and I'm sure everybody here knows it's the ritual of going to sleep in a sacred place with the anticipation of receiving a helpful dream from traditionally a divine benefactor. That's what we generally call them. Modern dream incubation, however, doesn't require you to believe in a deity or a god. It's sufficient to simply believe in the power of your own subconscious to provide the right answers from all available information, both consciously and unconsciously acquired. But of course, if you do wish to invoke a spiritual or religious deity, all the better, because that means that you'll be conducting the incubation in the same way as our ancestors did. So let's begin by taking a brief look at the history of dream incubation. And I'm sure many of you have already looked into this. My PowerPoint's stuck again. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see.
Right,
Epic
okay.
of Gilgamesh. Yeah.
Yes, okay. So the oldest testimonies that we have of dream incubation were recorded around 4000 BC. I don't know why it says 2750 there. Anyway, never mind. About 4,000 years ago, and it's the Sumerian text of the Epic of Gilgamesh. There are other texts, but certainly in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which I've actually covered in my book, and I'll just read you a little bit from it. The text actually says, "On the third day they drew near to the Lebanon. They dug a well facing Shemesh, the setting sun. Gilgamesh climbed up a mountain peak, made a libation of flour, and said, 'Mountain, bring me a dream, a favourable message from Shamash.' Enkidu, his companion, prepared a sleeping place for him for the night. A violent wind passed through, so he attached a covering. He made him lie down, and in a circle, they, like grain from the mountain, while Gilgamesh rested his chin on his knees, sleep that pours over mankind overtook him." So going up to a high place to dream with the gods was really common, and the Old Testament is also full of incidents like that. So this is a very, very old, well-trusted method, if you like. So from Egypt, the Chester Beta Papyrus tells us of similar dream incubation techniques. It distinguishes between, well, good and bad dreams and explores the background of a dream. So this is really the first evidence we have of dream interpretation. It offers the first pre-sleep method for gaining a dream, and they use the deity Bisa, who was the protector from terrors. And I have an example here. This is what they did. They made a drawing of Bisa on the left hand and enveloped their hand in a strip of black cloth that has been consecrated to Isis. And then they lie down quite often on a stone as a pillow and ask their question and go to sleep. And then they wind the remainder of the cloth around their neck and invoke the deity to bring them a dream. Normally, the dream was for healing. So dream incubation fulfilled various purposes, but the one most valued concerned cures relating to illness. So that's the method of dream incubation. That's the oldest method of healing. So you know, where the physician had failed to heal them, people would either go to the temple or to a sacred space, or even in their own home, and invoke a dream to their deity to be healed. So the sacred places, they were often caves, they were temples, they were sometimes tombs. They were any place that contained any sacred relics. So a famous sanctuary, of course. Oh, I've not mentioned the shamanic vision quest. So this is still done today in shamanic practice. I mean, I've actually done a vision quest myself up in Dent on the Yorkshire Moors in torrential rain. That was an experience. So, but it's the same thing. You are going to a place of isolation, a sacred space, after much preparation, and asking for a dream or advice or wisdom or the answer to a question from a power higher than yourself. So the most famous dream incubation temples are the Asclepions, which were found in Greece originally, and then the Romans also took on the practice. So a famous pagan sanctuary was the Serapeon in Alexandria, which was built in the 3rd century BC for the Greco-Egyptian god Serapis. We probably don't need to know that. And also the Egyptian pharaoh Imhotep became associated with a dream incubation cult in Memphis. So it's probable that the Asclepions evolved from the dream practices in ancient Egypt. So like our modern day lords, people would go there for a few days. It would be a pilgrimage, and there would be music, and there would be theatre, and there would be practitioners and healers. There would be people to talk to. This was all part of the preparation. So what exactly happened in what we call the abatons is not absolutely certain, but surviving sort of inscriptions on vortices and tablets, together with descriptions from Greek and Roman authors, reveal experiences in dreams or visions with the divine. And it might be that the rituals preceding the incubation, such as the fasting, the pilgrimage, maybe even ingesting psychotropic plants, maybe these all help to induce encounters with the divine. I won't be promoting anything like that. You don't need to worry about that. So it could also be the case that the imagery, rather than being from dreams, arose in the hypnagogic or the hypnopompic stages of sleep. These are the stages of sleep just before you fall asleep, and then just as you're waking up. If you can manage to maintain a bit of lucidity during those stages, you will find your vision filled with imagery, often quite startling. Normally we pass through these stages so quickly we don't notice it. So one of the things to try in the future is to see if you can maintain that state of lucid awareness, and that will enhance the dream incubations. Okay. Yeah, they are. They may also have used sort of suggestion, auto-suggestion, and the priests, who were sometimes known as the men of the magic library, would oversee procedures. And in the the Asclepions. There would be huge dormitories. So when the priest deemed that someone was ready to go through the dream incubation technique, they would allow them to sleep in these huge dormitories, and the floors would be covered in snakes. Now, the Egyptians did not revere snakes, but the Greeks believed that they were beings of great wisdom and also great healers. So the floors of the abatons were just covered in snakes. They weren't poisonous snakes, but they would quite often lick people's wounds, and they were thought to promote great power. So it was also sometimes thought that the priests, you know, if they were maybe worried that somebody hadn't been able to incubate a dream, there are inscriptions somewhere that hint at the fact that the priests used to wear masks and appear to the people in the dormitories to make them think they were dreaming. We're not sure whether that is true. So, like the Asclepions before us, we must spend time in ritual when we first start to incubate dreams. Once you are more used to it, there's no need for the long ritual. You can usually just go straight into an incubation and ask for a specific dream. But when we're first starting it, it's important to psych yourself up, if you like, to grow the expectation. It's not just a matter of one overnight stay. It requires a performance, and it did in ancient times, a performance of rites that have been developed over, 6,000 years. The typical conditions for the incubations in the Asclepions were, and I'm going to read this list here because I can't remember off the top of my head. They started with purification with water. So the Asclepions, these temple areas, were always associated with water. So there was always bathing for purification. There would often be sacrifices made, sacrifice of animals, or a promise of a votive gift, which sometimes took the form of an ornament in the shape of the body part that the person wanted healed. They would pray to the gods. They would feed the sacred snakes with honey cakes. They would wear white linen cloths, so they would dress appropriately after their purification. They would abstain from certain activities, such as warm baths, so the pools were always cold. No sex, no alcohol, no wine, for 1 or 2 days before the incubation, and they would also often fast. And there is also evidence that some people use self-flagellation, so self-harm, to get them into that state where they were receptive. I'm not recommending that either. You don't need to worry about that. So fulfilling all these conditions in ancient times requires days and months and sometimes years. It was taken really, really seriously. And in support of this, there were ceremonies, prayers, theatres, like I've said. There would be street musicians playing relaxing music, just getting people in the mood, getting them to relax and forget all the worldly troubles, making them receptive, in other words. So this is where we're going to start. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do now, I'm only going to give you about 10 minutes to do it. We're on 6:30, aren't we now? So I would ask that you do it in more detail and more thoroughly between now and next week, so that you have a really good idea of where you want to go from here. So we're going to start. This is where you're going to need your pen and paper now. We're going to start with a life path. Okay, now this is mine that I'm sharing with you, and this is actually in my book. I'm asking you to do this because it's really important that we recapitulate our life up to the point we're at now, good and bad, because quite often we don't do this. Quite often we go through our life and, you know, things happen to us and we move on, and that's fine. But sometimes we don't realise that where we are now is a product of where we've been before. So this life path, it's a way of looking at what you've really enjoyed in your life and what's been really bothersome or very trying or very upsetting or whatever, and you can illustrate it like I've done with little symbols. You will see too that that what I've done obviously is the highs are up here and the lows are way down here. So this is my path through life that I'm sharing with you at the moment. And I mean, I wrote this book in, I think it was 2011, 2012. So this is where I was in 2012. So what I'm going to do, I am going to play a little soft music for you, which I hope will reproduce okay for you. And I'm going to give you 10 minutes of quiet solitude to jot this out for yourself on your own life. Like I say, it would be probably very, very useful for you to do it in more detail after we've finished this session. But for now, we're all working together, which makes it more meaningful. So if you're all okay doing that and you've all got your pen and paper, I will play you a little music, and when I want you to finish, I will ring a little bell like that, so you will know we're all back together. Okay. I shall leave that slide up for you all to look at. Right, folks, your 10 minutes is up. I'm not sure what those little birds were on that music. They sounded a bit like ducks, didn't they? It sounded a bit odd. So it was good to see you all getting something down there. Obviously, it isn't something you can do properly in a 10-minute period. So I do hope that, you know, you're thinking it's going to be useful and you will maybe work on it more. Once you've done that and you've spent quite some time doing it, it's then time to think about what you want for the future. You know, is there anything that you would like to do, anywhere you would like to go, any changes to your life that you think would make you happier, be better for you, be better for your family, anything at all. And what you can do then, you can either add them onto this life path to make them your goals for the future, or in my book I actually suggest that you make a dream mosaic, which is this is mine from 2011. And basically it's just after you've jotted down your aspirations for your future, where you're going to go from here, you look out for, in magazines, in books, in articles on the internet, for all the things that represent your future goals, and you just stick them all together in this lovely, striking piece of art, really, and then you hang it on your wall where you can see it all the time. So obviously, I'm sure you don't need me to tell you, you've got to be careful what you wish for, obviously, because quite often, you know, we can wish for something that's not in our best interests. But if that's the case, you don't need to worry, because once you start incubating your dreams, if you're asking for help to achieve a goal that's not in your best interest, your dreams will tell you. And they will tell you very clearly in no uncertain terms. It's just that then you have to listen and you have to take note, and obviously you have to understand. So these are just, this is just a wish list for today. It's going to change as you progress through the dream work, and as you do more and more dream incubations and get more and more answers from your dreams, your path will likely start to change. And anyway, I always tell people that it's like being an airline pilot. You know, we might set off from London and know that we're going to Los Angeles, but on the way there we're going to be headwinds and tailwinds and it's going to blow us off course, and then actually we might find ourselves over Florida and think, oh, this is much nicer than LA, so I'll go here instead. So we have to be prepared to change all the time. We have to be flexible. So whatever your wish list is today, don't stick to it rigidly. Your dreams will inform the way you need to go. Once you've done that, again, it's so much fun doing this, and it's part of the ritual building up to the first dream incubation. It's setting up that intention and that expectation. It's sending a really powerful message to your subconscious that you're serious about doing this. Once, if you want to carry on incubating dreams for months or even years, you'll find very, very quickly that you don't need all this initial ritual, that quite often you can just intend a question and the answer will come. And that's what I tend to do now. So before we move on to the actual process of the physical process, I'll just show you this storyboard. So this is something else you can do if you want to. It's not necessary. But this is taking your wish list and breaking it down into bite-sized chunks, if you like. So we'll talk about something like this. again in our final seminar when we come to look at taking action from our dreams. But this is just another way of doing it, and this is what I did before I moved back to the place I was born, Saddleworth, 5 years ago. So it's just your plan of action, if you like. Okay, so right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause. Can I pause the share? Right, can you still see my?
Yes, we can see they're working the night shift.
Right, I'm going to end it then. Okay.
Okay, press on share, please. It's the green button.
Yeah, no, but I can't see my green bottom at the moment.
On the top, it's on the top. Or on the bottom. Yeah, I don't know. I think I can.
For some reason,
Would you like me to stop?
Yes, please. My whole screen has disappeared and I can't find it anywhere.
Okay, if I share my screen, just give 1 minute. Share, and then stop share, and there we are.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about this, folks. It's all these technicalities. Where was I up to? Yeah. Yeah. Storyboard. Right. So what we've done so far, I've just taken you through the mental rituals you can do to lead to more expectation of your dream incubation. So the next thing is to plan the physical side of it. So you need to decide on a day when you're going to do the incubation. And I would not recommend you do it tonight. I mean, you can do if you like, if you feel confident and ready, but it's better when you do it for the first time to plan 2 or 3 days ahead. So plan the evening that you're going to do the incubation. And don't have any contact with people if you can help it that day. Just focus your mind on the incubation. No TV. Try not to have any caffeine. Certainly don't have any alcohol. And think about how you're going to make your own sacred space. Now, for most of us, that will be our bedroom. If you're married or you've got a partner, then it's a good idea to, if you've got a spare bedroom, to sleep in the spare bedroom for that night. Make the space around yourself into as sacred a space as you can. You can do that with using amulets or candles like these. These candles are actually not real. These are battery operated candles. They look really, really nice in a bedroom at night. You can even move your bed around. Because it is a fact that the majority of dreaming takes place during REM sleep. And if we're in a strange place or strange surroundings, we tend to sleep more lightly, and we find we spend more time in REM sleep, and therefore the chances of having a dream that you remember are increased. You can also use various techniques that have been proposed by other people. For instance, I think it's Claire Johnson suggests that you go to sleep with a crystal in your hand. I mean, I've got here a rose quartz crystal. So if you, the question you're going to ask is about love or friendship, then, you know, rose quartz. If it's to ward off negativity, black obsidian, you know. So, but the secret is to hold these in your hand while you go to sleep, when you go to sleep, so that if you wake up temporarily during the night, the crystal will remind you to repeat your intention for the dream. We're going to talk about the question you're going to ask shortly. Okay, this is blue lace agate from New Zealand. This is reputedly supposed to be the dreaming stone to enhance dreaming. Whether these things work or not doesn't really matter. It's the fact that you intend them to work, and they will work. The other thing that is often suggested, I mean, I actually sometimes sleep with a stone because I'm also a shamanic practitioner. I use more stones in my shamanic and dream work than I do crystals. You can acquire somehow maybe a little pot like this, because when you formulated your question, you will write it down on a slip of paper, and you can then put it in a little pot like this and close the lid and put it on your bedside table. These are just little rituals which are sending a message to your subconscious. Like I say, once you get used to doing it, if you carry on doing it, you can do away with things like this. You generally will not need them. Your subconscious will have been trained enough to respond to you immediately. But initially, all these little things help. Okay, so what about the most important part? And the most important part is, what question are you going to ask your dreams? And this needs really, really careful consideration. It's generally not very useful to ask for material things. So, you know, you might want to ask something like, I'm sure none of you will want to do this, but what about an example of what do I do to buy myself a brand new Mercedes, because that's all I want? And your dreams will probably slap your face that night. So make your questions very, very considered. Obviously, if you can't afford a Mercedes now, the question you need to ask yourself before this is, why can't I? Your job doesn't pay enough. Do I want a job that pays more? What's fundamentally wrong here? Okay, so this is why doing your life path is so important, because it enables you to ask the right question at the right time. So as an example, I used the incubation once when I was offered a different job. I was working for Nottingham University, and I was offered a very lucrative post at an FE college in Nottingham. And I asked my dreaming mind, should I take this job? And the answer I got was quite ambiguous, and I decided that probably it meant I should. But actually it didn't at all. It was my ego thinking, I want more money, and I'll you know, there will be great prestige there. And very, very quickly after I'd made that decision, my dreams changed substantially, and they were warning me over and over and again not to take the job. So I guess the moral of that story is, try and incubate the same question over a series of nights. Don't just do it once. And make sure your question is as simple as you can possibly get it. A complicated question will elicit a complicated answer, which will be difficult to disentangle. So keep the question as simple as you possibly can. So in the case of my job, the question I asked was, should I take this job? But maybe what I should have asked was, if I take this job, will it make me happy? Because that's quite an easy question to answer for your dreaming mind. If you subsequently get an anxiety dream, then obviously the answer is no, it's not going to make you happy, and you should rethink it. Okay, so I don't want to suggest any questions to you, because the question you want to ask your dream in mind is very, very personal to you. And once you've formulated your question, let it percolate for at least a day, just to make sure that you've got it right, and that it's the question you really want to ask. And when you've decided on the wording of your question, you must then do something which I promote as a very shamanic way of working. You imbibe it with your intent. And intent isn't like intention. An intent is something where you just relax into it. So you've prepared yourself, you've thought about this for 2 or 3 days, you've gone through the rituals, you've opened up your sacred space. The night of the incubation, when you get into bed, just lie there quietly, think about your question, maybe put it into your little pot, whatever you've got, and then you just let it go. If you picture or imagine sending your question out into the universe, or if you believe in God, send it up to God or Jesus and just pass it over to them. It's out of your hands now. There's nothing you can do. You've asked the question, and hopefully you will just fall into a really restful sleep. Obviously, you need to have a pen and paper to hand, preferably on a bedside table or under your pillow. Again, I don't know anybody who's joining in this seminar tonight, so I don't know what practices you do now. I've no idea if people currently record the dreams or not. But certainly in my book, Working the Night Shift, there are a lot of hints about how you can record your dreams, and also how to increase recall. When I first started recording my dreams, I just used to use pen and paper, and then I bought a light pen. These light pens are really, really good. This is only half of one now because the end's actually dropped off, but I think you can still buy these. So that saves you having to switch your bedside light on if you wake up in the middle of the night. Because the thing is, I know that I've done it myself so many times, the tendency is you slightly wake up, you're in a dream, you remember the dream, oh, I'm so tired. You run through it in your head. I'll remember that, I'll remember that. So then you turn over and just go back to sleep again. And of course, when you next wake up, you don't remember it, it's gone. So when you incubate a dream, it's really, really important to be aware of all your dreams and to write them all down. So that's a good way to do it. After I've been recording my dreams a few years, I actually started using a dictaphone. Providing you know where the buttons are by feel, then you don't even have to turn any lights on. So they are superb. The only thing is that you get a lot of detail, which is great. I mean, detailed dreams are fantastic to work on, but obviously once it's on here, if you want to work on it, you're really going to have to transcribe it to either your computer or write it out, whatever. And you will get some very, very long dreams doing this. And the other thing is, if you wake up during the night and you use a dictaphone, quite often in the morning you can't tell what you're saying. It can be quite hard to decipher because you've recorded it when you're still half asleep. I would say that I play guitar, and I play guitar because my dreams instructed me to start doing it. It was a childhood thing that I'd forgotten about. And about 3 years ago, I woke up in the night with this song playing in my head that I was making up in the dream. I was in a dream and there were things going on around me and I was making this song up about what was going on. And I grabbed my dictaphone and I sang into my dictaphone. And in the morning, when I woke up, I was so excited. I couldn't wait to listen back to it because I thought this is going to be fantastic. It was so funny. There was tears rolling down my face. It was so funny. But even though it sounded ridiculous, I got all the notes and a lot of the words, and that's the best song that I have ever written. So there's a lot of creativity in your dreams, and this is why dream incubation works, because we are creative beings. I mean, the Bible says, doesn't it, we are made in God's image, and God was a creator, and we are creators, and we create our own world. We really do. We create our life, we create our future. And this is why dream incubation can be such a powerful tool, because you're getting in touch with your very essence. And I firmly believe that we all have a gift. And, I think one of the problems in the society we live in today, in Western society, everybody expects to be happy, and if I'm not happy, there's something wrong. But we all know that that's not life, that a peaceful life is more important than anything else. So that's, if I could suggest a question for somebody doing dream incubation for the first time, I would suggest that you ask, what can I do to make my life peaceful, and see what happens. That's providing your life isn't peaceful now. Okay, so I think that's basically all I wanted to say, and I don't think I've missed anything out. Just to say, next week, I mean, I'm hoping that you're all going to try this before next week, and I'm hoping you'll all come back next week. Next week, I will be going through dream interpretation and how to analyze and explore your own dreams. So if you can bring your own dream to the table that you've incubated, that would be really, really fantastic for you. And we will go through one or two techniques. We will hopefully get a chance, maybe, to share one or two of the dreams if people want to do that. And certainly I would like to hear your experiences of doing this. Hopefully I hope to see you all next week. And then the final week, once you've all explored your incubated dream and you understand it, then the third week we will be making action points to put that dream into practice, to manifest the things that you have learned from your dream. And the final section, I envisage, will be very, very interactive. So thank you for listening. Open to questions now. Whatever question anybody wants to throw at me, that's fine. I love questions.
Thank you so much for such a wonderful introduction.